We'll call today's meeting to order. Jen, will you do roll call, please?
Tom McDonald.
Here.
Len Teete. Here. Jennifer Finley. Here. Jim Molitor. Here. Carol Langford. Terry Pitts. Bing Matt. Mike Dawson. James Steele Sr.
Thank you, Jen. Well, as always, we'll start today off with a prayer. And Terry, would you please lead us in a prayer?
Yes, thank you. Creator, we're very blessed to be here today. We ask that the Spirit we be worthy to receive guidance. And today we ask that you watch over those that are in needs. They will be strengthened by friends, family, and part in strengthening those positions. We ask that you watch over our children today as they move about and wake up. We ask that those be comforted that have lost. We also ask strength for those that have made good choices and they're standing tall and making to their families and to their neighbors, and those watch over those that aren't here on travel, that they'll be safe in their doings. Veterans, we ask these things in the Creator's name. Amen.
First order of business, let's look at our minutes from June 13th.
On page 2, my first statement about the Zootown Open, could I put PDGA, which is Professional Disc Golf Association? Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Abby, on the James Lapata's presentation and discussion, where I was referring to Chairman McDonald's referring to property taxes. Just a point of clarity. I had to pay thousands of dollars in property taxes, and a billionaire only pays $320 a year in property. It would be a billionaire with a 2-acre orchard. And with Casey Lozar referring to the federal excise tax, the first statement, it's federal excise tax for sporting goods, not sporting licensing. approve the June 16th council minutes with corrections. Second by Jennifer. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, show of hands. I have a couple of items I want to make sure we get to that I would add to the agenda. We have 2 walk-ins that will need to be an executive, 3 walk-ins in executive session. Is there any other agenda items I want to add?
Couple things in open, please.
Motion to approve today's agenda. Motion by Jennifer to approve today's agenda. Second by Ellie. All those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Okay, I think we would, maybe we just take care of our open ones real quick and then we could go to the executive session items. So I wanted to make sure everybody got the questions to follow up with our interviews on Tuesday afternoon. If everybody was okay with those interview questions, we would move forward with that. I mean, he concurred with them yesterday afternoon. So if everybody's okay with that, just to move forward with that. Then we can have another discussion on Tuesday to follow up on that too. So we would want to entertain how we would move forward with the board's input on the answers to the questions. So we can do that on Tuesday though. The other one was just a quick update. I think everybody's aware of the situation from the fuzzy line of I-90 north. There's 2 different weather patterns going on. A lot of water kind of south of us. We're kind of right on the border, but north of us, which is the Flathead Basin up into Canada, there's extreme drought going on. Indicated by Going Sun Highway opened up about a month early this year. And of course, all the smoke coming down from Canada, massive fires. So the water snowpack in the Flathead Basin is severely under amount that you would see this time of year. So consequently, there could be a conflict with keeping the lake at full pool this year. So we'll be working on trying to educate the Flathead Lake recreationists, shore owners on that issue. But there's a full expectation that we won't be able to maintain Flathead Lake full pool this summer. In fact, it probably will start dropping by the end of the month. So it's cool right now, but we're just not getting the precip when the snowpack isn't there. So it's another climate change, type trend that you're seeing. And it's going to be more that type of normal pattern into the future. So we'll be preparing information for folks, and we're going to be doing a presentation to the Flathead Lakers, assist their alliance to help deal with this and educating all the owners around Flathead Lake.
I attended the Sailors Kootenai Housing Authority opening of I believe it's the Quality Living Housing. Quality Homes, Quality Living project over in Maggie Ashley. It was a really nice kind of ribbon cutting ceremony. Of course, honoring the housing, Mr. Bob Gochi, patriarch. It was I didn't realize I was going to actually help with the ribbon cutting, so I made Bob do it, and it was, yeah, really well received, I thought. They are in the process of building, more homes. The assessment, I think we all saw, was like 2,200 homes that we need in order to address the homeless crisis here. So, housing feels like they're kind of on their way building. They're going to be basically building in every community in the next 2 years. So KECI, and then I think they're going to be releasing some information on what their projects are going forward. The other thing is the March is coming through today. They're over at SKC. I believe they're going to be coming over at the memorial. So if we have, well, I would just request that we take a minute and go out there and at least acknowledge them when they come through. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Martin. Thank you for attending that opening for the homes and your request. We will take action on that if we can. Go ahead, Len.
Yeah, Martin, quick question. Are those homes, have they already been assigned?
I didn't ask.
Okay.
I know I believe they're all low income housing. So the lists are, especially for Pablo, are really long. So I imagine, before I imagine all those houses are already offered out. Could be.
Council to step outside when the folks come in the parking lot. Take a quick break and do that. For
They're working on the one that it's in open lands is working with her. So
yeah, we
we
go in
were-
executive now.
Okay.
So we'll take the first person.
Well, Tracy, so she doesn't have to go in and out.
Yeah. Okay, Tracy.
Dan, can you wait out in the? Yeah, you're staying, Tracy.
Anything you wanna follow? Over? Yeah. Through. Right here.
Of Thompson's allotment, which we are now affectionately calling the Calawakan parcel for BPA purposes. Mr. Thompson approached us last fall with an interest in selling about half of his allotment. So we're just about through the BPA process. And so today I'm requesting that council approve, purchase, and pass a resolution to purchase 19.3 acres of the Calawakan parcel with BPA resident fish mitigation dollars. And page 6 shows
You're
the
coming in
back.
real low voice. We're having a hard time hearing you, Lynn. I don't know if
Oh,
Or
is
what?
that any better? Is that better?
it's can you guys hear? No. Al?
Hey Les,
Our system here.
can you hear me at all?
It's just really low. No matter how
Okay.
loud you talk.
Do you know how to fix this or Santa can barely hear me? I'm not sure what to do on my end. Yeah. Mr. Chair, do you want me to run down to Pablo?
Here. Need to get background, don't you? Your computer, Lynn,
You think it's my computer?
you're on your computer?
Yes.
Your phone?
On my computer.
Try your phone.
Lynn, log in on your phone. That, they'll
Okay,
be able to hear you then. While
I'll
you're
try
logging
that.
in on the phone, we'll go to the next item.
okay.
Okay, thanks.
And do you have the money?
It's in the budget, it's covered.
Okay, let's do it. About time.
Do you still need me to, when's our next person scheduled? Because I can go for 45 minutes or I can go for 5 minutes, depending on council's.
We're behind schedule.
Okay. I'm here to share some good news and talk about some of the work going on in Dewars. And early on in the process, when I made the transition over this job, there was a need expressed of getting the tribal workforce trained up and at a higher skill level so that they're more viable being hired for this contract work. And one of those skill sets is welding. The Northwest Iron Workers had done trainings in the past, and so was, getting input from Melinda Charlo and other people and Seth Makepeace. We started a relationship with them, and it looks as if we can get them to come in late August for an 8-week training. They can get their training truck in here, their people. We can train 10 people, preferably tribal members. We can do a focus on that. And we would like to offer a stipend to them of that makes it worth their time. And it's a free training. They do have to apply, be screened, be accepted. And from in the outreach and talking to Stacy Sherwin and talking to Melinda Charlo's office, there is interest out there, and we think this would be potentially a life-changing moment for these 10 individuals. And I do think officially it falls beneath the threshold of needing council permission, but this is definitely something that council should be aware of, knowledgeable of, conversant in, that this is going forward and supportive. So I think the packet lays out the details of the contract. SKC is the entity we have an MOA with. SKC is actually hosting the training, and then we're paying SKC for their expenses. And there's some details that still need to be worked out, but Stacy Sherwin's been an ace and helping us work through those, and we seem to be on track. The MOA is submitted to our contracts and grants office with the help of Alyssa Peel. Preparing that is covered by the compact budget. I was going to say the number, but I didn't want to say it wrong on the spot. So all the ducks are lined up and wanted to share the good news and see if you had any questions.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. This is really great. I just want to say good job in making this happen. And I think you're right, Rob. This will be a life-changing thing for anybody who participates in it. So it'll be a 10-week or 8-week welding training.
8-week welding training that will take a strong worker, but maybe not really good at welding, into a very capable welder, and taking a existing welder, potentially making them at the level they can become a licensed iron worker. And if they reach that stage, that, they can be picked up as a apprentice in their system. And that kind of training can be difficult to obtain. I'm sure Councilman Jimmy Molitaire is aware of that. So this is intense training, just not for the faint of heart, but those who are serious, dedicated, and we're looking for those who are ready for this kind of challenge and opportunity.
Yeah, I just thank you for bringing this here. I think it's wonderful. I think it's an excellent career path. you can support yourself really well on that, with the welding certification. So thank you.
Thank
Great.
you. And then I think the demand for these skills are only going to grow in our future with the infrastructure needs we're seeing, and we're seeing the government put money behind infrastructure projects. And I think we're short of this kind of skill, so this comes at a great time.
The other vocational skills that you could assist with. And
This is the first step, more to come.
First step. So to say that we had a tribal member and he's he's familiar with some welding. He's worked in worked on some cars and some vehicles and done some different things. This is something they might be able to do.
Yes, I believe so. And it would be, it's a commitment to, this is full-time training. So it'd be hard to do something else. And that's why we put the incentive in there to help them cover the costs of being able to take this kind of training.
Is Marvin Corville the one instructing this program again? No? I remember when we had this at SKC the first time, or, a couple of years, there was the struggle with it not being able, students couldn't get financial aid. So I'm happy to see stipends to help support them while they go through the training. I hope we see females also, because I also remember Marvin saying at one time that sometimes females were the best welders because they're so meticulous, and so I hope we get some female representatives in the program as well, but thank you for bringing this forward again.
I had a chance to consult with Marvin, actually. He now works for Morrison Merrily, one of the firms that we have working on the Jocko Pipeline project, actually, and talked to him extensively of his experience and the trainings, and he helped shape this, actually. So his fingerprints are here.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. This is a great opportunity for these young people. I followed it for 37 years, certified in 7 states and Heliard pipe, all of that. It's a great opportunity to make a lot of money. I went to Alaska and made a lot of money up there. It's a great deal for somebody that wants, on the oil refineries over in the state of Washington, California. They do shutdowns 6 to 8 weeks at a time. And you work 7/12s, you can come out of there with a hell of a lot of money and take care of a family. And it's the circuit, so you can just follow it. I followed it all the way to Louisiana, Texas, back up to Washington and into Alaska. So, it's a great career for some people. Some people that don't want to go through a full college degree. It's a good trade, and you can take care of your family with it. I'd like to, when you get it started, let me know. When they get started with it, let me know. I'd like to, I went with James Steele Jr. years ago down to Albuquerque, and we went to that welding course down there, and we did a long talk with them, man. It's really a great opportunity.
We'd be honored to have you there, absolutely.
Mitchell.
August 22nd is the start date and wraps up in early October.
So is there drug testing for the students?
I think we decided not to do that. We are going to be taking applications, and we're going to be working with SKC to screen and get it down to 10 people. So, yeah,
Okay.
We had discussed that, but we don't think that's necessary right now. So
I didn't know if that was part of the requirement for the iron workers or not.
Yeah, and we are going to advertise and get an application out. We're going to advertise pretty heavily. We have a plan. So, and I believe the instructor is a tribal member from another tribe, is what they said. So he is, we are going to get a tribal instructor for them. So it's pretty exciting opportunity.
Cool.
And SKC is working with us to get it going so that we will have it set up here in Pablo. So,
Well, as soon as you get the information out there, give potential students a head start of thinking about it, and knowing that there's a stipend.
Yep.
And 8 weeks is almost short enough for someone to take time off if they were employed to take time away from their job, maybe get a leave of absence to get this curriculum in.
Are you gonna have the Charcus to do an article about it? I'm just thinking if there's materials I can share on Facebook, just to kind of get the word out so people can start applying and thinking about it. I
That's-
just think you guys are doing a great job. Sounds like a wonderful program.
The machine's eager and ready to get going with materials, and the SKC's team is very supportive and capable. And yeah, we think time's a burning to get the word out. So once we nail it down, we can get details out that are easily shareable.
A lot of practice welding. I wonder if there's anything they could build for us. Stuff like that. You need any action from us? Great job. I mean,
I don't know if action's needed. It's always appreciated.
okay, thank you.
Consensus works. Thank you, council.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. Okay, Lynn, give it another shot.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Chair and rest of the council. Is this better?
Talk loud.
Hello? I'm talking loud. Can you hear me? Hello? Mr. Chair, should I just come down there?
Lynn,
Yeah,
hear you now.
you can hear me now?
Best shot. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Should I just come down?
Yeah, just come on down. Sure, go ahead.
Okay, okay, I'll run down.
Okay, Velda, you're up.
Hisakwisnam Ituum 10. Today we are going to be asking for non-compete contracts with some of the major suppliers, vendors to help us develop our meat processing plant. And I think we might be talking dollars. So can we go into executive session? And then when you take action, we'll come back into general. Does that work?
Yeah, well, it's easy to do. You bet. We'll go. Okay, let's take the request. Practice approval. Plant to proceed with our USDA grant. Do a non-competitive contract with Freelessa Company.
Friesla.
Seeing none, all those in favor? The Morrison Merrily contract for helping with engineering is also a non-competitive request for approval. Line. Seeing none, all is in favor? That's your two non-competitive contract requests, Velda? Okay.
Yes.
Anything?
And as Janet explained, one might be a separate, we're not sure yet if they're going to be a subcontract with MMI, the MacArthur Means and Wells firm. We're still working on that, negotiating it. But that's all we need for today right now. Any more questions?
No, I don't think we have any more questions. Oh, wait, Terry has one.
Yeah,
Terry-
thank
Terry
you,
has
Mr.
some.
Go
Chairman.
ahead.
Just a comment, I really appreciate this effort. This is something that's very important. And I think it'll be very beneficial as we move forward to get to this production site or getting to this for our membership and our food sovereignty. So thank you and wish you all the luck and all the support you need.
Thank you. We appreciate your time. Have a nice day. Bye now.
It's on his way down and he requested executive for their
Okay.
legal update.
In the open session? Push that button on the mic, so, yeah, you get it. Otherwise it won't get, Abby will have a hard time and.
Talk. There we go, talking. Talk button. Anyway, thank you for the time. And as I said before, this has to do with, like the letters that are received from the area office and from Vernon Finley when he was the chairman in November 2nd of 2017, and then your letter of March 1st. And the part I'm wanting to know about, this letter, this is the November 2nd, 2017 letter to me from Vernon Finley, who was the chairman at the time. And it said, this letter is in response to your discussion you had with the tribal council last month concerning the tribes and its history with Public Law 280 and retrocession. The tribal council forwarded the documents you provided to the tribal legal department for review. As you may be aware, the tribes were successful in 1993 in getting partial retrocession with the state of Montana during this past 2017 state legislative session. The tribes were successful in getting draw consent of state felony jurisdiction upon consultation with local governments. At the present time, the tribal council has asked for feedback from various departments within the tribe about how they might be affected if the tribes eventually request full retrocession. As we stated during the October 12th tribal council session, the tribal council believes the tribal membership needs to be educated about the pros and cons of retroceding before any further decision can be made. And your letter basically states the same thing that was of March 1st of 2022. And from the time of Vernon's letter until as I'm talking now, the tribal council hasn't had any educational discussions with the membership about the issue of Public Law 280. And I would like to start with the termination policies of the 1950s into the mid 1960s. House Concurrent Resolution 108. House Concurrent Resolution 108 of 1953 was a formal statement by the United States Congress announcing the official federal policy of termination. The resolution called for the immediate termination of the Flathead, Klamath, Menominee, Potawatomi, and Turtle Mountain Chippewa, as well as all tribes of the states of California, New York, Florida, and Texas. Termination of a tribe meant immediate withdrawal of all federal aid, services, and protection, as well as the end of reservations. Individual members of terminated tribes were to become full United States citizens and receive the benefits and responsibilities of any other United States citizen. The resolution also called for the Interior Department to quickly find more tribes who appeared ready for termination in the near future. A total of 109 Indian tribes and bands were terminated within the United States, with approximately 1 million or one, doesn't have, this looks like 13, this is why, it should have been, I think, million, because it has 1'365 and then 2 zeros of acres of land removed from trust protection, affecting a total of 11,000 Indians, or 3% of the total Indian population. And in 1968, there was the amendment of in 1968, there was the amendment to the Public Law 280, the Act of August 15th, 1953. So on April 11th, 1968, 25 U.S. Code 1326, special election. State jurisdiction acquired pursuant to this subchapter with respects to criminal offenses or civil causes of action, or with respect to both, shall be applicable in an in-country only where the enrolled Indians within the affected areas of such Indian country accept such jurisdiction by a majority vote of the adult Indians voting at a special election held for that purpose. The Secretary of the Interior shall call for such special election under such rules and regulations as he may prescribe, when requested to do so by the tribal council or other governing body, or by 20% of such enrolled adults. And that's Public Law 90-284, Title 4, 406, April 11th, 1968. Concurrent tribal authority under Public Law 83-280, the Office of Tribal Justice, the United States Department of Justice, November 9th, 2000. They talk about the major crimes are murder, manslaughter, kidnapping, maiming, felony sexual assault, incest, assault with intent to commit murder, assault with a dangerous weapon, assault resulting in serious bodily injury, assault against an individual under 16 years old, arson, burglary, robbery, and felony theft. Under the dual sovereign exception to the double jeopardy clause, tribes and the federal government can punish the same offender for the same offense. And that goes on to further state. Here. Enacted various provisions in 1968 to limit the further extension of PL 280. The 1968 provisions require tribal consent by majority vote of the adult members before any further states could assume jurisdiction over any areas of Indian country, and authorize states to retrocede PL 280 jurisdiction back to the federal government. Sections 1323 and 1326. Well, in 1994, the Tribal Council passed Tribal Resolution 94-123 and forwarded that to the governor's office, which he signed, and the state retroceded jurisdiction back to the tribe, which was an illegal act because there was no held no 1326 because it was required by law and the amendment to the law that a special election for the state to retrocede, the state had to have the results of a special election that would have been held by this tribe or the memberships to have them retrocede, the state retrocede the misdemeanor back to the tribe. The tribal council, upon taking it upon themselves to forward the tribal resolution 94-123 to the governor's office, and the governor, Mark Roscoe, signed that on September 30th, 1994, was in a violation of 25 U.S. Code 1326 special election. That was the amendment to the act of August 15th, 1953, Public Law 83-280. Tribal Ordinance 40-A and 40-A revised under subsection 2E. And it states in there, if nothing was complied with within the act of the act of February 27th, 1963, Laws of Montana 1963, Chapter 81, on pages 170 to 172. Ordinance complied with. If any part of either of these documents were not complied with, it dissolved, however you want to put it. The ordinance 40-A and 40-A revised, dissolved with the non-compliance of these documents. And then furthermore, the act of February 27th, 1963 contains no language for referendum. And a referendum is the only way that we can be under Public Law 83-280. Tribe became under the Wheeler-Howard Act, which is a federal law, federal statute that was passed by Congress. We got under it under 25 U.S. Code 5123, Organization of Indian Tribes, Constitution and Bylaws and Amendments thereof, Special Election. That is how we got our Constitution. And that was the consent of the membership to become a constitutional government under the Wheeler-Howard Act, the Indian Reorganization Act. Our corporate charter was the first petition that was carried by the tribal council. That was Tribal Resolution number 11. That was during the winter of 1935 when the tribal council carried petitions through the winter and got signatures from the membership to call for a special election to get a corporate charter. And when we got our corporate charter, because it did get passed, that's how we got a corporate charter. The rules, the business procedures, and it talks in there in the business procedures that were put out in August of 1936, a few months after the vote for the corporate charter was finalized. Section 5, it states that our tribal constitution and corporate charter have the full force of the law and supersedes any Indian affairs, Indian business, whatever they wanted to call themselves before they was calling themselves the BIA and stuff. Anything in their manual, our constitution and our corporate charter superseded them. Allowing this, and we finally, my son and the rest of us that believe that we're under this illegally, we're into federal court now. Last week we filed the writ of habeas corpus because this is all illegal, and we've attached the Secretary of the Interior to it, and currently I'm drafting a writ of mandamus to address her, the Secretary of the Interior, and their office. You know, it's like the council, the people change, but the office stays the same. But it's their duties and their fiduciary responsibilities to uphold these procedures and documents. And if they're not upheld, then what is the purpose of them being in existence? The area office has stated that they cannot, February 20th, 2018, certified mail to me. Dear Mr. Loza, we've been advised that you did not receive the letter we sent you on October 3rd, 2017, responding to your September 27th, 2017 letter. A copy is enclosed. In your letter, you request our intervention in actions taken by the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes of the Flathead Reservation. Again, we suggest you look to the CSKT Constitution and forms established for a resolution to your concerns. We have no authority to enforce or interpret tribal law and cannot help you in this internal tribal matter. This response is the final for our department. And when I had a meeting with the superintendent on the 24th of May, I discussed this with him too. And I wrote a little letter while he was reviewing the documents, and I put, the Flathead Superintendent, BIA, no 25 U.S. Code 1326 special election was conducted to move Tribal Resolution 94-123 to the Governor of Montana for signature of a proclamation, which Governor Roscoe signed September 30th, 1994. Therefore, violating Tribal Ordinance 40-A revised, Section 2E, therefore dissolving the ordinance. No people of authority have enforced the ordinance, as this ordinance has been violated from the beginning. I request you notify the Secretary of the Interior to this issue. Therefore, no legal convictions, as there is no jurisdiction of the state. I have brought this to the tribal councils in the past and the Flathead BIA superintendents with no response. And I disagree with the Portland area office and the solicitors that the BIA, the Secretary of the Interior, and Department of Justice can't enforce the ordinance 40-A revised, because that was my discussion with the superintendent. Excuse me. For when you pass a resolution or a tribal ordinance, it has to be sent to the superintendent's office for approval there. And if he disagrees with it and doesn't approve it, then you can bypass him and go to the Secretary of the Interior's office yourself. But if the superintendent approves it, then he forwards it to the Secretary of the Interior and with his approval of the ordinance. And then that is where part of the problem is, because in our Constitution, it says that if they don't hear a no within 90 days, they consider it to be. But I can't seem to find any documentations like a letter with the Secretary of the Interior's signature stating that this is officially okay. there's no record of it. It's just like, okay, nobody said no to it within 90 days, so it's okay. But I find that to be like an incomplete, you know, where is the, like, the documentation that the secretary actually said okay? And that's, you know, this is just documentation I've been searching for, I cannot find, and been told basically that it doesn't exist. And so I'm saying, how does this move forward and stay there without actually an official document with the signature of the Secretary of the Interior? Is how do we get our tribal ordinance that the council move forward to the state without the membership's approval? Because the council cannot do it. And that's a violation of your oath of office, because in the tribal constitution under Article 6, the powers and duties of the tribal council under Section 4, what you've done, and I'm not saying you personally, I'm saying you, the tribal council, the governing body, and current, because that's where perpetual succession steps in, or else you would be, every day you would be redoing every ordinance and resolution that you passed in the past. You'd spend all day trying to get your resolutions up to date to keep up to date. So that's what perpetual succession is like the tribal council that passed 40-A in 1964, council that sits here today. It's as if it was done, you know, yesterday. It doesn't say it has to be, it's yesterday is yesterday, you know? And so you are essentially the same council with different members. Same implications are the same, is that you have shortcutted the proper method, like how we got our constitution under 25 U.S. Code 5123, Organization of Indian Tribes Constitution and Bylaws and Amendments thereof, special election. And under Article 6, the powers and duties, council under Section 4. Section 4, any rights and powers heretofore vested in the Confederated Tribes, but not expressly referred to in this Constitution, shall not be abridged by this article. And abridged, as I explained to the Montana legislature, is shortcut. You shall not shortcut. Be exercised by members of the Confederated Tribes through the adoption of appropriate bylaws and constitutional amendments. Because Public Law 280 is a constitutional amendment of Article 1, territory. The jurisdiction of Article 1, territory, the jurisdiction of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes of Indians shall extend to the territory within the original confines of the Flathead Reservation as defined in the Treaty of July 16th, 1855, and to such other lands without such boundaries as may hereafter be added thereto under any law of the United States, except as otherwise provided by law. And not only does that concern our reservation lands, our corporate charter lands are one and the same, but separate. Corporate charter lands and our territory lands under state jurisdiction would require a Article 9, a referendum of the membership to bring it to an Article 10, an amendment. You would need a referendum to decide for the membership, not the tribal council, to decide if we wanted to be under state jurisdiction, because we would be putting our corporate charter lands and our territorial lands, like I said, they are separate but the same. Corporate charter, that's where you get, and that's part of the Act of February 27th, 1963. I believe that's section 4 of it, where you can't be taxed. But section 2 contains no language for referendum. So with no language for referendum, you can't conduct a referendum. Which brings us to section 6 of the Act of February 27th, 1963. Under section 6, that is where it states that years, you don't get out of it, you're stuck in it. But it took Tribal Ordinance 40-A to get us in it illegally because the council moved forward without the proper method of the vote, the referendum. And under Article 9, referendum, Section 1, upon a petition of at least 1/3 of the eligible voters of the Confederated Tribes, or upon the request of a majority of the members of Tribal Council, any enacted or proposed ordinance or resolutions of the council shall be submitted to a popular referendum, and the vote of the majority of the qualified voters voting in such referendum shall be conclusive and binding on the Tribal Council, provided that at least 30% of the eligible voters vote in such election. Which means that Tribal Ordinance 40-A and 40-A revised is inapplicable because the law of February 27th, the Act of February 27th, 1963, Laws of Montana, 1963, Chapter 81, Section 6 violates our Constitution. Therefore, it's inapplicable because it is telling us that we cannot conduct a petition drive such as I am going now to rescind Ordinance 40-A revised in its entirety. Attached to the Act of February 27th, 1963, Laws of Montana, 1963, Chapter 81, because Section 2 contains no language for referendum, because that is the only way that you get tribal consent, as the amendment of 1968, 1326 special election. That's a part of that law of August 50, the Act of August 15th, 1953. You're required to have the referendum. Like I told the superintendent on the 24th of May, that when the council moved tribal resolution number 94-123 to the governor's office, and he signed it on September 30th. That is the 6 months that's required in the ordinance and the law, that when the clock will start for the county with their threats of pulling out of Public Law 280, and as I've told them several times, I don't understand how you can get out of something you've never been in, because to us. I said, at that time, when Turnage was working his magic of deception here, because I put him in the same classification as Nathan Hale and Benedict Arnold. He did treasonous acts as a member to terminate us. That's why it's called the termination bill. In your oath of office, you swore to uphold this Constitution. To seem to follow it, that's why we're in the federal court now. To get an answer on it as to why we're still in it when the proper method for getting us in it is a referendum vote. And the referendum through the tribal council minutes in the past have stated, and Turnage stated in there, that the governor will not do nothing until a referendum has been held. Was not held because the explanation for that comes in the April of 1993 quarterly minutes, where Pat Left Hand states that in the 1960s, when they were talking about concurrent jurisdiction, the membership was against it. And his House Bill 55, which was 298 in 1961, and it didn't pass then, but in 63, he had it under House Bill 55. And information, the same as Pat Left Hand talked about, was that the membership was not in favor of Public Law 280. He manipulated Walter McDonald because I believe that his actions, manipulation by Turnage and Walter's efforts to try to get help with law and order on the reservation, because we were kind of small and stuff at that time. But it still does not allow the council to move forward in violation of the law. And the law is the special elections, the special election that got us our Constitution, the special elections that come in here under Article 9 referendum, which was the petition that the council carried to get our corporate charter, which was brought to a vote by the membership and ratified. It explains that under Section 4, under 3, that under C, I mean, that importance to a referendum. And throughout the years,
Just a quick question. You mentioned
Okay.
you did a filing in federal court. Have they set a hearing date?
they have gave us a case number.
But no date has been set yet.
Nope, they will, let's see here. June 9th, and it's Lozo versus Holland and Don Bell, because we had to get to federal court, to get his habeas corpus to federal court, we had to go through the state procedure, because when I discussed it with the federal clerk of court and stuff, they said that I could file it right then and there, but they would reject it because you need to go through the Montana Supreme Court first. So we went to the Folsom Court. Their discussions on how they believe it's all intact, and we moved it to the Montana Supreme Court. And then we got the results from that. But the longest part of getting to move forward to the federal court, we had to fight from the filing date of December 5th of 2022 until April of 23 to get them to display all the evidence and the documentation to the case that we presented to the Montana Supreme Court, because our filing date and what we were saying, but they withheld the evidence, the documentations, such as all these papers that I have here. I have boxes of this at home. But they were the displaying on them where you could look up the case and you could review the case with all the documentation. A lot of it was missing. So when they made their decision on December 27th, then we had a response to that and we were in disagreement with their finding. And then we filed another 83 or about 88 pages, and they only displayed the first 6 pages of of what we were disagreeing with, and all the documentation to support that was suppressed. So I was told when I was there that, because I brought a lot of copies and the lady stamped all my copies received because I had to give five to the justices there, 1 for the Supreme Court clerk, 1 to the Austin Knutson, the Attorney General's office. And then I had more, and then they stamped more. Well, when it came to our response, and I asked them why they didn't have that on display, and they said, because it's in the court right now, we're waiting for it to get back, and then we'll scan it on. And I said, well, my question is when you scan the first 6 pages of our response, why you didn't respond the whole packet? Because I said, somebody, you know, when you had to take it apart, I said, because it is completely stapled together. It would be a document thicker than this, but it was all stapled together, and they had to take it apart to scan the first 6 pages. So I said, why didn't you just scan the whole thing? I said, all the documentation to go with it. And they said, well, they didn't really have an answer. But when it got back from the Supreme Court that they would scan it in, and in again, and I called, and then they said, because when I was there discussing it that first time and I had these extra copies, I said, I have copies right here of the same thing with the same stamp on it. And they said, we can't use that. And I said, okay, I'll wait till you get it back from the Supreme Court. And so when the case was over and it was decided, then I said, okay, now why haven't you put that on there yet? And then they start telling me, one of the copies you have stamped, put it in the mail, and when we get it, we'll scan it. And I said, well, that don't make no sense to me. Why you want me to put it in the mail now and send it to you from me when I was standing right in front of you at your desk? And I presented that to you. I showed you I had like 8 more copies of the same documentation, but you said you couldn't use it. But now you want me to mail you a copy of what you said you couldn't use to copy now. There this last time, and I said, I will not mail it to you. I said, I will bring it to you again. And I brought it, and then they took it apart in front of me and scanned it and scanned the whole thing in. And then I asked them, where was their copy? But she said it was recycled. And I said, well, define recycled to me. When I do this, I make several extra copies. Because when some people say, well, we didn't have it, we don't know what happened to it. So that's what happens. We're, you know, our self-governance, which was passed on June 25th of 1993, governance compact between the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes of the Flathead Nation and the United States of America under tribal law and forums. The duly enacted laws of the tribes shall be applied in the execution and performance of this compact, and the powers and decisions of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes, tribal courts shall be respected to the extent that the federal law construed in accordance with the applicable canons of constructions and PL 93-638 as amended and the Federal Tort Claims Act as amended do not conflict. And it further states in here, responsibilities of the tribe and the United States government. And C, and under section C, nothing in this compact shall be construed as affecting, modifying, diminishing, or otherwise impairing sovereign immunity from suit enjoyed by the tribes, or as authorized or requiring the termination of the existing trust responsibility of the United States with respect to Indian people. It is recognized that claims cognizable under the Federal Tort Claims Act arising out of services or any other activity comprehended in this compact or in any services or other activities. Any annual funding agreement pertinent to this compact will be defended by the United States and may be brought by the aggrieved person only as set out in 28 USC 2671. So all the members. Your point? Oh, okay, just a minute. And then what I'm getting to is the responsibilities of the United States, because when I filed a court case in, I believe it was 2010, when medical marijuana and stuff was coming about, and that's when I was bringing up about the fact of the reservation and stuff like that with it. But under Article 4, obligations of the United States, Section 1, trust responsibility, solemn obligations. A, nothing in this compact is intended or should be interpreted to terminate, waive, modify, or reduce the trust responsibilities of the United States to the tribes or individual Indians, including but not limited to the protections afforded the tribes or its members by the Federal Tort Claims Act for acts or omissions arising under the performance of activities and services comprehended in this compact or any subsequent annual funding compact. The Secretary pledges to practice utmost good faith in upholding said trust responsibilities. And with the self-governance compact, law and order, and that is in these agreements too, which is attached to Public Law 83-280, which is illegal because it has no consent of the tribal membership. The tribal council doesn't have the authority to give consent to be under this. Only the membership can. And that's what the documentation tells me. Now I'm gonna let Ethan speak. Push your little red button.
Welcome, Ethan.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. I'm here to support Sonny in this cause. And just to offer you guys some insights, I was pretty wild when I was young. I spent a lot of time over there in that tribal jail. The judges were, would get annoyed with me and they'd hand me like 30 days here, 20 days there. The longest I sat in there was like 55 days. And it was a complete waste of time. Didn't help anybody. It took me a long time for me to get the help that I needed, and that's backwards. We shouldn't have to commit a felony to get the help that puts us on the direction that we need to be on. And I see a lot of wasted human capital, a lot of, like a wasted opportunity, and we're sitting at a golden ripe opportunity right now as, the nation, they're undergoing justice reform, the BLM movement, talking about how, even police need to get trained. My whole thing, my thing that I think that needs to be changed right now, most specifically, is just sentencing guidelines. Like 30 days here, or who's going to determine like you got to go sit a year in that tribal jail? I've never seen anybody walk out of that tribal jail after a year, and like a lot of them didn't even last very much longer. They did, that is has some very tremendously adverse effects sitting in that tribal jail because it's very confined. It's small space. You're sitting in there with 5 other people. Most of the times it's confinement too, solitary confinement. That's cruel and unusual punishment. And well, not everybody can make it after sitting that significant amount of time in there. And I can go off a laundry list of people that spent a significant amount of time in there that are no longer with us. And so I want to steer everybody's fears away from that argument that our membership is going to go to the federal penitentiary where it's worse if they commit a federal felony, because we do got a jail that we can utilize if we utilize it right. There are certain jailable offenses that people need to kind of cool down, like especially partner family member assault on children, contributing to the delinquency of minors. That's the stuff we need to focus on. If it's something like murder, manslaughter, then yeah, the feds need to pick that up because that's serious offense, and that does kind of have to go to that level of justice. But nobody's getting any justice. Some of the victims, because it just creates more victims. The only way we can honor our victims is to make sure that we don't create any more victims. I've done a lot of research, did my time. I'm pretty passionate about this issue, and I just want the membership to not fear, because there is something known about what we can do with justice, or just the law enforcement. I mean, I have total faith in our people. We're smart. We're tremendously smart. We're like the smartest tribe on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. And we know how to handle our offenders. And I think there should be more peer support specialists, treatment court, like I've said. We can do all sorts of different things with sentencing. And it's just a matter of allowing people to kind of get put on the right path in their lives. And instead of just putting them in there where it's like caging an animal. They come out there, they just want to be a vicious dog when they get out of that cage. And I've known for a fact that going through the state of Montana prison system, they're probably the most incompetent people that you can experience, because they don't know how to handle their offenders either. They misappropriate mental health funds. They don't even have any mental health. You got to go through treatment. And then that's almost pretty severe punitive measures, that they got to take. And we should focus more on rehabilitation. And this is a tremendous opportunity for us to do that. I think we need to, help out with, like there's hotlines that we should be like, make more normalized out there instead of dialing people, be quick to dial 911, because we don't have to get law enforcement involved in every little issue. Like if there's neighbor disputes, but I mean, that's me just going off on a tantrum, but yeah, I think we should definitely take this opportunity.
Mention about Bubbins.
Yeah, Bubbins. So in their Montana Code Annotated Disagreement, Public Law 280, it says that no tribal member shall be alienated from his reservation. That's right there. But Lake County Probation and Parole refused to let one of our Kootenai elders back home, our Kootenai Pondere elder back home, because like the whole reservation was not the right living environment for him. But still, they're alienating him from the reservation, and by law, that's like on its face, it's prima facie. It shouldn't be that way. So, and then in my like I've seen that time and time again, where somebody will have to do over a year to 2 years after they got granted parole before they can return home here, and it's really frustrating when I have to see that. And so we need to put a stop to that. Especially when they're somebody that is a valuable treasure to our people, like Bubbins. He was an elder. I'm glad I got to know him in there. So yeah.
Ethan, I want to thank you for your comments, because you know, one of the things that we've been doing, that Sonny referenced our letter, we've been meeting internally, and we've had the feds come in. We've been doing as much scoping internally to figure out what we can do. Well, we can grab to our fullest extent of our authority allowed under federal law to meet the needs for our citizenship. And so we're still in the fact finding and trying to figure out what we can do and how we can finance it. But you know, there's so many things you said is that we've been talking about those deeply and sincerely, and we want to fix a lot of things. It is horrific to think that someone has to commit a felony to get the help that they need, and that's absolutely wrong. And those are the kind of things we want to do. Is we want to do preventative things. We want to find the solutions for those people that are suffering from addiction, suffering from mental health, and not have them commit felonies and be incarcerated. And yeah, we don't want people coming out of incarceration in worse shape than they were going in. That's absolutely not what we want to do. And so we're striving to achieve that. I hope we can have extend as much as we can, as great as we can. For one footprint where you talked about the importance of people committing, you know, murder and those type of things. Back in the day, when Sonny's talking about when council first went into this public law 280, there were 10 unsolved murders on the reservation, and the federal officers that were responsible at that time coming in were totally inadequate, unable to do anything. And that was one of the emphasis. It's just like Sonny said, my uncle Walter was trying to do things better for our membership, because that's the situation we were in.
And that's, you know, like what he's discussing, there's another tribal member who was prohibited, and he had to fight to be able to come back to the reservation right now by the tribe. But he finally did make it back, and one of the biggest opponents from him coming back was Don Bell. And when he did get out and did come back, he walked face to face with Don Bell, and Don Bell didn't even know who he was, but yet he was opposing him coming home. I asked that before, what did I think about Don Bell as being a tribal member and being the sheriff? And I said, because it's the same as when Jay, he was a tribal member and he was a sheriff. I said, nothing changes. I said, it's the same manipulation against the tribal members. Like I've known tribal members who basically was a resisting arrest, who they got turned into felons over a resisting arrest and stuff. And now they're convicted felon. And it's over basic stuff like that, how the county Hill, you know, and it's like what Ethan explained, you know, you don't need to call them every time, but when you get called in there, that's and the point of that is like
the one footnote where I really like Ethan's point is that we need to correct things that we have control under also. So it's really important that we look at the full scope and breadth of things. So I'm commenting, we have like 5 minutes left, Sonny, so.
go ahead.
My name is Shelley Hendrickson, and I have children and family in prison. When this started in 2012, my sister Pam, prior to that, she's gone now. She had gotten a ticket and got a 3-year sentence when she died 28 years later. That's why we are requesting you start, you know, get some meetings out here for the people like us who are dealing with Montana State Prison, Shelby. I talked to Lynn about a very serious matter that is going on right now. Along with when you are up here in the county court, you sign a DOC agreement. When you get to Montana State Prison, you're under Montana State Prison, and that DOC don't mean anything. This deal, these guys are signing legal documents and saying, well, okay, I done it, I will go do the time. Well, we've got people in there who's had 3-year terms and they're still in there 10 years later. That was the first time I had ever, my sisters and my family asked me to listen in on one of those deals, so I got a chance to. Insulted in my life of our people aren't nothing in there. They're keeping these guys in the hole for years. It's the truth. Taken, if you are 2 or 3, they're calling you a gang. Our people in there trying to survive, the Indian people, against all the other nationalities. And when all this public law 280 stuff comes up, that prison is against all the Indian people because we are messing with their pay. We are messing with this. We are preventing them from doing this. They made it so our people can't get treatment in there. Most of our people have done things to end up in prison is treatment. Well, if we can't get them treatment to get them out, they're in there for years in Montana State Prison, and their boards make sure, well, if you're a felon, oh, you're too violent, you can't. More things going on that you guys need to talk to the people who live it, like Ethan and the other people. There's a lot more that happens in them prisons that are dangerous, and our people are paying for it. Nationalities, they walk the walk. We're nobodies. This is very dear to all of our hearts of, this is the time for this tribe to tend to our people. Put it to a vote. I can live with whatever the vote is. We want to do it, but let's make it better. No, we don't. We're going to try something else. But we've had 60 years of people sitting in there of our own reservation, other reservations who are under federal. They said no, they didn't want it. They come through here and get picked up. They're put in the same system. They never make it home again. I don't know how many people who have finally got out. I'll say 10. Are on the street. Oh, they're going to be back in jail, back in prison, because they've been in there so long. We need to do more help when they get out. And one thing I wanted to bring up with, you keep looking at the clock, is our program over there, reentry. We need more help there. Some help there. I've had some help from one of the ladies who is a lawyer. In there helping those people get this stuff done, because if you don't have a lawyer, when you go to them meetings, they don't care. When you go to that board, they don't care. And a lot of people should be let out. And, maybe we can do have our own deal back here to help our people become Indians again. Help them, open the door to being able to be on the streets and be productive people again. Because they've been so beat down when they come out of there. And I can't sit and be quiet any longer. And we've been working on this for 8 years. This is the first real meeting we've gotten with you guys. So I'm hoping you guys take us serious and you want to know, talk to us. When Sonny Boy says his house is full of boxes, mine is too, of people sending me pleas of help me. Just because my son's in there and they're grasping for any kind of help. I'm going to get out. Well, we all do what we can. We put our hand out there and try to help. But this tribe needs to start taking care of the Indian people, our own tribe, and the other Indians who come through here. We're all still Indians. No matter what day of time it is, we are still Indians. And they can't change that.
I want to thank you for your comments and appreciate your sincere interest in this topic, as we all are. Martin, do you have something? And then we'll have to wrap it up.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. Yeah, thank you guys for coming in, Ethan, and yeah, I mean, I know your story, but you know, these things that we're talking about, we had a meeting 2 months ago. We're trying to be proactive about Public Law 280 because we see all the things you do that it's a broke system. I work for reentry for, you know, a quick minute. And that's the program that we keep coming back to. Like we keep saying that we need all these support systems that are holistic, that treat mental health and addiction and, you know, all those things that are probably the root of a lot of the problems of people incarcerated as it is. And it just keeps coming back to that. And so it's like, we already have the program that is grant funded, so it'll go away, but unless we actually put some institutional funding in it. And that's not the solution, but that's definitely one of the best helps I can think of. I mean, people coming out of incarceration, I mean, that's the whole point of that program and helping them. And it's not just, you know, MSP, it's here too. I mean, you know, people that are incarcerated here need help, probably more help than, you know, people that are far away, because they go out, they walk out that door back into the streets of Pablo, and, you know, we need places that are sober living. We need more of that. And so housing's working on that. And so I'd like to invite you to, you know, the next meetings that we have, I'll make sure that you guys get, you know, a seat at the table, because, you know, truthfully, we need more people that are connected to what's really going on out there, and that have people, family members that are kind of in situations like this. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys coming forward, and, you know, Sonny, you're always an advocate, and I appreciate you keeping on this. So, thanks.
Thank you. We'll have to move on to the next agenda item.
All right,
So-
well, just one thing I wanted to say is the broken windows that are at my house have been there for like 12 years. And they were a result of criminal activity that happened other places in the housing site. And I have pictures of where they come driving up on my yard and when they took off, and the cops had the perpetrators, but as soon as they heard my son's name, they left these people and expected them to wait there for them to come back. Nate Gray, the FBI guy here, the BIA guy here said, oh, it's gonna be a felony, this and that. They had the names of everybody. They were gonna hold them accountable. The county said, no, this wasn't gonna happen this way. I even wrote a letter to the Attorney General at that time, because I'll tell you what, if I'd have had shells that night, I'd have blowed that woman right off my porch that was breaking in, and they already beat my son with a golf club. Broke the windows in the house, they're still there and Don Bell was the investigating cop then at that, and he was a tribal cop then. But those windows that are on the house that are still broken, that's from 12 years ago. They said they were gonna do something about it. Housing was gonna do something about it. To this day, they haven't done nothing about anything there when I asked about that. And I asked them to do the same thing I've asked you to do. Go put rocks around that approach that goes to the back, toward the back of my house. I said they put it across, you look on Beaverhead Lane when you're going down. They put them across those approaches there just to stop the people from the lower from driving across the field. I'm describing criminal activity by their standards that are going there. Yet to this day, right now, they haven't done anything. They haven't even put the rocks up around the approach like I asked them to. I've asked you to do that. Nobody's done nothing. But in final closing, what you should do is repeal 40-A in its entirety, as it has no legal standing. Happens, and just be under federal law. And if they think things are going to be too crazy, well, there's what the federals call martial law. Martial law could be established to bring things into line. But for us to continue to allow members to be put through the state when there is no legal document that allows it to happen, and you're being advised of this again, the Montana State legislature's been advised, and I believe that they took my word for it, and when they denied Lake County their bounty on the Indians for $5 million. I'm gonna have to thank Mr. Greg Gianforte for that, being a Republican. And Kurt Alme, the person I discussed this with before when he was the district attorney for the state. That there's no legal agreement between this tribe and the state and the federal government for PL 280 to be in effect.
Thank you, Sonny.
Yeah, you should do the right thing and just repeal it.
All right.
And let's get on with our lives and fixing things. But the first thing we need to do is get out from state jurisdiction, which we aren't even under.
You guys have a good afternoon. Was a little bit behind this morning, and because we had to jump into a few things, I just want to recognize a couple of folks that are here this morning. Came back. The University Congregational Church members are here in attendance, observing council today. I want to welcome you. Thank you for coming up. Next, we have Pat. You're up. I think you. If you need to.
Test Squex, test Halt, Kisu Kukiat, Tribal Council. It's my honor, my privilege to introduce the Montana Hope Center's team and also ladies from our tribal community before you here today. I just want to talk from a programmatic standpoint. As the project director for the Families First project, our primary objectives are to serve reservation families at risk of child abuse and neglect. And the prime objectives for our program is prevention and reunification. Originally, the Families First program was located at Tribal Social Services, and we were designed and we were applied for as a grant and designed to be a tool in the tool bag for Tribal Social Services, mainly child welfare and social tribal foster care. And we've been serving families since then. And since then, my program has been moved over to the tribal TANF division, Tribal Assistance Needy Families, and we're in the cash assistance program now. But we still work hand in hand with Tribal Social Services with referrals with families that are in the struggle of trying to build safe homes and secure homes for their children. In the meantime, we've experienced a lot of issues with parents that are struggling with addiction. And it's no secret that we have a need on the reservation, that our reservation people are fighting and struggling on the front lines with addiction. And I'm no stranger to that. I've faced similar struggles and have found help in certain areas of recovery and in the faith-based community that I involve myself with church and whatnot. Well, probably 6 months to a year ago, we started hearing stories of people that were involving themselves in the Montana Hope Center system. And I didn't know much about it until we decided to go make a visit recently, the last few months. And my wife and I, Marcy, and some other people representing the tribes went over and took a look. And I couldn't believe how beautiful and magnificent the facility was over in Clancy outside Helena, Montana. And I started observing our participants from the reservation, and I've never seen more involved and serious looks on these ladies' faces than I ever have, and realized that something powerful was happening there. And so we started talking, and I was introduced to the team here. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce the team now. If we get going on the, you did email it to me? Can you email it to Jennifer.Trahan, regular spelling Jennifer. Trahan, Trahan, at CSKT.org. Yep, Trahan, Jennifer.Trahan at CSKT.org. Had a luncheon prior to coming here, and I was visiting with the gals and listening to the different stories and their progress in their recovery. And I couldn't be more proud. I couldn't be more touched in my heart. I am witnessing exactly what our program hopes to see, and that's to see mothers and fathers getting well, getting strong, taking their lives back, and making their way back to their children. And that's exactly what we call success in my program, at the Families First program. And so I am just super thankful to be introduced to this team who represents an organization that is an option. And I know you, as our tribal leaders, are always looking for solutions. You're always troubleshooting. You're always looking for a way to help the people. That's your task. And this is real, concrete, and it's tangible. And I couldn't say enough good things about this team. And so I'm just going to go ahead and chew on the mic for a second and buy Carolyn a couple more seconds. Did we get it? Let me take a look. I'm worthless without my reading glasses, so give me a second. All right, she's got it to come through. And so in the meantime, I would just like to introduce some of the gals that are accompanied with us. We got Shirley Felsman. Shirley, raise your hand. Rhonda Felsman. Desiree Yellow Owl. And we got Miranda Macook here to give you a little bit of their stories and to talk about their journey and what this journey is like with the Montana Hope Centers here. I'm very proud to present these young ladies as well. And on a personal level, I talked about my programmatic standpoint, but the personal level is it's, you know, recovery takes work. Recovery, those of you guys that have, you know, gone through the journey of addictions or drinking or, you know, whatever it is, it takes honest effort. And as my mom used to say, one of her favorite songs was "One Day at a Time." And these gals wake up at 4:40 a.m. That's when their day starts, and that's how they start their one day at a time. And they can tell you a little bit about those stories, but never came through. My apologies with that, but we'll just go ahead and move forward. Okay.
For taking the time to let us come today. Okay, that's easier. Thank you. So I am the director of the Hope Center in Helena, and then I'm a regional director for Hope Center Ministries. We currently have 47 locations in the world. 3 of those are in the UK. And we're opening 7 more centers this year. Hope Center was established in 2007. In the past 3 years, oh, she's got it. Okay. Do you mind if we start? And okay.
I was at your webpage. Here.
Do you guys see the first slide now? See what they see. This is a photograph of the Hope Center in Helena, right outside of Helena in Clancy. We have been open since 2020 and have served over 200 women and their families. We currently have, I believe, 29 ladies in the program. And then we also have a men's center outside of Butte. This is just a picture of my family, a little introduction to myself. I was born and raised in Montana. I have lots of boys and a little girl. My little girl's just 4. And my education, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and then I'm also in recovery from addiction myself. So this is really close to my heart. Addiction has affected my family and my life in many ways. And Hope Center has been very restorative to my family as well. So this is kind of going back to where I started in the beginning. Our program is a faith-based recovery program. It is 1 year long, and that year is split into 3 phases. We have capacity for a minimum of 34 residents at each center, 42 locations worldwide, 7 new centers opening this year, and then the 2 locations currently in Montana. I'll go back to that for a minute. If we were to move forward, and if a Hope Center were to come to the reservation here, that would be the first Hope Center on a reservation, which I think is really exciting and definitely exciting for the ladies that are here with us today. So I'm just going to go over our models briefly, just kind of bird's eye view. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask at the end or jump in. But phase 1 is 6 weeks. So when they come in, we do take people directly off the streets. We also take them from incarceration. So depending on their length of substance use, it takes a little bit of time just to restore their physical health. So we provide healthy food, get them into a routine. There's counseling in groups. We work through the 12 steps. During the first 45 days, everyone completes at least through step 5. They're working on character building, attending Bible studies and church. Once they start phase two, Hope Center is pretty unique to the vocational training program as far as recovery programs. So we are, once the center is opened,
Can I ask one question?
yes,
What is their involvement with the outside? Is there any communication? Are they allowed visitors or what?
yes, that's a great question. So in phase one, the first 30 days is a focus period. So we do limit phone calls, but on Friday night, which Tiffany will talk more about, every Friday night at Hope Center, we invite the family up for dinner and then an Al-Anon group. So to help restore the family along with the individual, that begins right away. After 30 days, the involvement with the family increases. Again, at 60 days, it increases. So throughout the program, they gain more privileges and it becomes less restrictive. So in phase two, this is a picture of some of our residents. We took them bowling a while ago, but we always do recreation on Saturday. We work with businesses in the community, and this is a really unique benefit of one of the ways that we restore the community along with the individual. Most places, at least where we're from, are hiring, and it's hard to find dependable people to show up. And our goal at Hope Center is that each resident graduate in a way where they're set up to where they can take care of themselves and provide for their family. So everyone leaves with a job. Well, before they can get a job, they need to learn a job skill, build a resume, and sometimes they need to start with an ID and a driver's license. So we take them through all of that over this phase two, over the 38 weeks. And so we partner with, I think we have 6 active contracts right now in Helena. So some lawn care companies, Taco Bell, some nursing homes. We've done bakeries, accounting firms. Depending on the residents that come in, and the businesses that have a need for employees, we work together and we will transport them, pick them up. We're drug screening the employees. So we're providing a dependable workforce. And at the same time, the residents are gaining a skill. So that's phase two. They are allowed passes at that time. A couple times a month, they can go off site with a healthy family member, and then life skills classes. And counseling continue throughout the program. Phase three, wherever they have been vocational training at, oftentimes they want to hire them. So at that point, they hire them on like a regular full-time employee. If they haven't loved where they're at or want to try something new, they can at that point get a job anywhere they like. So some people, I know Shirley that's here, changed it. She tried a few things before she figured out what she really wanted to do. And so it's helpful for them to be able to do that. We also take them through financial management and a budgeting class, kind of get into the relapse prevention, and then start connecting them more to community support as they transition out. So during that it's a minimum of 8 weeks. That's what the program looks like. All right, Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Stone, and I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity for us to come present Hope Center to you guys. I am from Arlene. I graduated from Arlene and went to SKC. I've lived in Helena for about 12 years. I myself celebrate over 6 years in recovery myself. So when the Hope Center was presented, I had gone through Department of Corrections myself and experienced felony DUI and have done all outpatient treatment. When Hope Center came, I had gone through Celebrate Recovery and had an opportunity to work for Hope Center. And I work for Hope Center because I believe in it, because all these things that are in this program is what it took for me to establish sobriety in my life. So what's unique about Hope Center is the integration of families. So it's restoration of the individual, it's restoration of the family, and restoration of them back into the community. So as you guys know, in addiction, you take, and you not only, the people that are most affected is your closest is your family, and then right next to that is the community. And so the dynamic of Hope Center is restoring first to the family. We integrate the family into our program. So there's 4 different days throughout the week that families, and a lot of the time the family and the dysfunction comes from the long line of the addiction comes from the family. So not just giving them a recovery program that I had gone to 6 months and a bus ticket back to the doorstep where I was sick and there was dysfunction. We integrate the family into the program. So the families are welcome to come up on Friday night. So Friday night we do fellowship and we start rebuilding relationships and healing the family. And then we take them through the foundations of recovery. So we educate and give the family a platform. So we go through, you know, relapse being a part of recovery, codependency, conflict resolution, anger. We go through all of these dynamics together with the family. The families can come to church. We invite them to church. There's visiting on Sundays after church. They can attend Celebrate Recovery meetings and Bible studies. So we just restore the family, not just the individual. So we're not just sending them back to the doorstep. We're bringing the whole family. So alongside that, we also restore the community. I know as an addiction, you know, I took a lot and I wasn't very productive member of society. But what we do is we bring the community as volunteers into the Hope Center. So we have people come in and lead groups. Celebrate Recovery comes into the Hope Center, but also life skills. So there's different dynamics and different people in the community that bring their culture and their life skills into the Hope Center to be able to teach the ladies. So when those people are coming in, they're building healthy relationships and building a network. So by the time they get out, it's not back to the old friends, the old lifestyle. They've built these relationships and this network with this community. So when they go back and they get out, they can be a productive member of society. So also we teach them the dynamic of service work to go give back. You know, it teaches them worth. And then when they get out, like plays what they like to do. We do recreation on Saturday. Every Saturday we take them out, and I didn't really know what I like to do until I started to experience rec in Helena. You know, I was in addiction for probably 6 years. So like, I mean, we take them through the gates of the mountains. We've taken them to Lewis and Clark Caverns. We just go out on adventures and teach them like to have sober, healthy fun. And then they kind of learn what they really like to do. So by the time they transition out and are in community living, they have an idea of what they like to do. Plus they also have already built themselves a network of people, and bringing volunteers is a very big step too, because it's like restoration of community. So it's teaching them to build relationships, healthy relationships, and healthy social activities. So also we do foundations class. So when they go on passes, that we bring the family in and kind of educate them, and we make sure that they're sober, healthy support as they go on passes. So we just restore all of them together, the family, the individual, and the community.
Thank you for having us. I was blessed to come on board with Hope Center this last year, and recovery is very important to me as well. I've lost quite a few people to addiction, including my younger brother, who was born in Polson, spread his ashes in here in 2007. I'm also in recovery. I've got 6.5 years. My position at Hope Center is the admissions process. So sometimes families reach out to me and they're concerned about their loved one. They're afraid they're going to lose them to their addiction. And I will walk them through what the program looks like, answer any questions they might have about the program, work with case managers, chaplains, many different avenues, call them. Sometimes I transport them to the center. I got to come and pick up Rhonda here, and we prayed over her daughter, and she came a couple months later. So that was very awesome to witness and to just see how they're blooming. I also work as a legal liaison with the court systems. So I work with their attorneys and the courts. We do monthly random UAs, and I do monthly reportings. We provide an alternative to incarceration. As you know, the jails are full. They don't have room. There are people in there that just have addiction problems and not necessarily need to be behind bars. So Hope Center offers an alternative to that. And then as I'm out getting around and picking up people from around the state, you know, I'm trying to make new contacts and let people know that we have the availability to help others. So it's just amazing to see what is happening in these programs. And I'm very, very happy to be part of this. Thank you for having us.
Quinn, and I'm an enrolled tribal member here. This is my testimony. I struggled with addiction. In my addiction, I suffered miserably. The pain and shame I brought on myself and my family, the neglect I put on my children, the lying, stealing, cheating, and broken promises. I felt alone, abandoned, desolated for a life of misery because I couldn't handle my life sober. The only way drinking gave me the courage to stand up for myself and forget all my worries. It was only temporarily. In the end, it left me in despair with nowhere to go. July 12th of 2022, I came into this program. Scared, broken, hurt, lost, lonely, and just tired. The place for me, I gave it a shot. I was a wreck coming into this program, but they accepted me at my worst. In the beginning, I wanted answers, and now, who was this Jesus? Why am I here? And how is this going to work? Today, I am 335 days sober. I'm walking in faith and hope with God, my Savior, my Creator. I have my struggles here. Some days I want to give up and give in and leave, but I remind myself what a day's struggle is like for me out there. Seeking, learning, and growing. This program's shown me who I can be and want to be. I had the opportunity to work at 4 different vocational training programs. I was also put in leadership role at the house, being the house manager. It wasn't easy, but it took me out of my comfort zone. I just recently got my driver's license. I had not had a valid license since I was 16 years old, and I'm 37 today. I have people today who love me, who trust me, and wants nothing but the best for me. I still have a long way to go. This is only the beginning of restoration and healing for my kids and family. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm where I need to be. God's timing is always on point. And I got my 2 older sisters and my niece on this journey with me. And my new Hope family sisters, the church volunteer staff, and everyone who makes my life and stay here easier. Without them, I'd be alone in my struggle. I'd like to add, just this past weekend, I went to my oldest son's Cato's graduation in Welpinette, Washington. I have not seen him or talked to him in 13 and a half years. That day, I won't forget that feeling that rushed through me just to hug him and hold him and escort him to his graduation. This program proves true healing and restoration of family. Thank you, Hope Center. And I've been here for 11 months. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Rhonda Felsman. I am an enrolled member of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. I'm a reborn believer in my King, Jesus Christ, and I am an addict in recovery. Addiction runs deep in my family as far back as I can remember. My drugs of choice was alcohol, prescription pills, meth, heroin, and worst of all, fentanyl pills. I've been strung out on meth since I was 21 years of age. My family seen me at my worst on it, and my 3 daughters grew up watching me do it. After losing my dad in April of 2004, then my mom in April of 2008, my drug use became an everyday part of my life. From here to Washington 2 to 3 times a week, but being a single parent and the oldest of my siblings, that money just wasn't enough to get us by. So I stepped on my game in the drug world and started bringing fentanyl pills back to the res with me. After the COVID epidemic hit, that's when I became addicted to fentanyl. Having caught COVID, the only thing that kept me from feeling those symptoms was the blue pills. I went from smoking a few pills a day to 40 pills a day. I felt like I couldn't function without the pills. My daughters and sisters all witnessed me at one point or another overdosing on fentanyl 6 different times. Each time, the come downs were unbearable. It felt like the flu, but 10 times worse. I was irritable, short-tempered, hot and cold sweats. Nothing could take those withdrawals away except another hit of fentanyl. I lost my youngest girl to social services because of my addictions. My two oldest girls have felony charges due to their addictions, and all four of my sisters have felony charges due to their addictions. I lost everything, including myself, because of my addiction. On October 17th, 2022, tribal DEA and Lake County cops raided my camper. They found fentanyl pills and meth. I got transported to Lake County Jail facing 2 counts of criminal possession of a dangerous drug. Jail is a lonely place to be. Where did all my so-called friends go? I never felt so alone. I cried to God, and he heard my cry. I had to attend Pastor Jeremy Lee's service every Sunday. Us ladies prayed for each other every day. I asked God one night to give me some sort of sign to show me there is light at the end of my dark and lonely tunnel. I got a letter from my sister Shirley. Told me her and the whole Hope House women had heard about me and my situation, and they had been praying for me and not to give up. God has a plan for me. She enclosed an application, and I filled it out and mailed it back to her. A week later, I got a call from Letitia, the admissions coordinator, and she said I was accepted. I cried tears of joy. I told Pastor Jeremy Lee that Sunday that he said this was God's calling for me. I was released from jail after exactly 100 days. This is where my spiritual walk with God begins. On January 25th, 2023, I arrived at Hope Center Ministries. I felt such a huge sense of relief walking through those doors. The staff and the girls were also welcoming. I never felt judged or looked down on because of my past life of addictions. I learned I wasn't the only one who suffered from fentanyl addiction. It's amazing what the power of prayers can do. I jumped right into program structure, met my phase 1 counselor, Tiffany, whom is a God sent to me. Walls that I built around me from my years of hurt during my addictions, doing my 4-step packet. Program has built me up, back up with God as my foundation. It's given me fulfillment, purpose, and joy. I am currently working with Tribal Social Services to restore my relationship with my youngest daughter. I should be dead, but God's unfailing love, he placed me where I needed to be to get the help I needed. The Hope Center has helped me break free from the shackles of addiction and the generational curse that once ran deep in my family. I am proud to say I have 8 months clean and sober as of yesterday. I am a leader at the Hope Center, and I do vocational training 5 days a week as a cook and personal care attendant at Golden Options Assisted Living Facility, taking care of 11 residents who look forward to seeing me every day. I am no longer alone. Along with me in recovery at the Hope Center is my 22-year-old daughter, Miranda, my sister Shirley, who is also with me, my sister Sheila, who's back at the Hope House, Jelly and Sherry, who will be joining us once we're program complete, and my oldest daughter, Danica, who's a month away from discharging Butte pre-release. My family, all whom at one time suffered from years of addiction, are now clean and sober. In October, as I was being booked into the Lake County Jail, a detention officer asked me, "Rhonda, do you feel like you was arrested or rescued?" Today, I can honestly say with my head held high, I was rescued. Thank you to the Hope Center staff, Carolyn Belling, Tiffany Stone, and Letitia McFarland, the many volunteers, and my sisters in Christ, but most of all, thank you to my Savior, Jesus Christ. With you, all things are possible. I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Thank you for my sobriety.
Good day. My name is Desiree Yellowell, but some may remember and know me by Des Patton. I am blessed to have come from a family of 7 other siblings, being the second oldest of us all. I'm half Powell, half rodeo. I'm an enrolled member of the San Carlos Cherokee Apache clan of Arizona, but I grew up and was proudly raised here on the Flathead Indian Reservation. by my precious loving mother, who is my hero. I vaguely remember my father as his choices and addiction led him to incarceration, and to this day, he still remains. I am an alumni graduate of Tuigo River School, class of 2005, and I attended college here at SKC and was a part of the Women's Bison basketball team. I grew up fairly quickly in life and started a family of my own, married to my late husband of 10 years, and we were blessed with 7 beautiful babies. We were well known and respected throughout a community, and we built loving friendships and bonds with so many families throughout the Mission Valley. Addiction soon took over our life, and on October 9th of 2020 was when me and my kids' whole world flipped upside down as I lost my once in a lifetime as he left this world from an overdose, and our family was broken and a part of me was gone. I think this would happen to us until it did. There's no book or manual to prepare you for something like this, and I couldn't bring myself together to tell my innocent children their father wasn't coming back. Now became my new reality of life I wasn't ready to face. I was broken, and I wasn't ready to face. I was broken, full of hurt and anger, and felt hopeless and lost, only wanting to be selfish and gone from this life. I turned into someone I didn't recognize and never thought I'd become, nor did anyone else. And from there, it only spiraled downhill. In a short amount of time, I lost everything: my home, my children, my respect, my reputation, my integrity, and my dignity. I isolated myself and gave myself a record as I became a part of this addict and criminal lifestyle. I didn't realize the ripple effect I had caused due to my poor choices. My children not only lost their father, but they lost their mother too. I've attempted treatment before and thought I could stay sober and do it all on my own, but failed and fell back down every time. The latter of my relapse led to the loss and miscarriage of my innocent baby at 3 months along, and it was a nightmare I never want to experience again. At this point in my life, I've hit rock bottom and knew if nothing changed, the path I was taking would only lead me to jails, institutions, or death. I've done enough damage, burnt enough bridges, hurt enough hearts, broken enough promises, and put enough of my family, children, loved ones, and community, including myself, through so much I wanted to be done, and I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I knew only I could make this change for myself, and when the truth I was in denial of came from my children and family, it reminded me that I had a purpose in this life, and a beautiful family to love and care for and protect from all of their hurts, hangups, and habits. By the grace of God, February 9th, 2023, the day I expected to be sent away turned out to be the day I found myself at Hope Center Ministries, and that my life would forever be changed. I recommitted my life to Christ and was baptized by our church, Mountain Family Fellowship. I fully surrendered my life to God and have put my faith into action by letting go and letting God. This program has taught me discipline, obedience, healthy conflict, commitment, discernment, integrity, and accountability. It has challenged me to know and understand the importance that every choice we make in life matters. But most importantly, I'm learning how to apply this all to my life, as grief and recovery will forever be a part of me. Vocational training has taught me work ethic and new skills, and I am now proudly a foreman in training at Corby Lawn and Landscape. In this program, my family is being restored, in which I never thought would happen, nor that I would have this relationship back with my children and family. One of my siblings also took this step, encouraged to ask for help, and now has a relationship with God. And I am blessed to be walking this road of sobriety together. Everything happens for a reason, and I know God brought me here right now for a reason. I truly believe you get out what you put in, so I'm putting my all into God in this program. God in the Hope Center has been my comeback that I've been seeking for all along. I went through to get me to where I am today, who made me who I am now, so that I can be the light in the darkness and break this generational curse. Addiction and suicide has taken too many lives and has broken and torn apart too many families and communities already. In turn, I hope to give others the hope and faith they need to know that God loves you, you are forgiven, you are valued, and you all have a purpose in this life. As the scriptures say, after your season of suffering, God in all his grace will restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. And they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved their lives not unto the death. The scriptures and the help from this program was how I found my way out. And if my God can heal me, he can heal you too. As Queen Esther, who knows that perhaps you were made queen for just such a time as this. As this all has helped me to become a kingdom woman of God, so let me tell you about my Jesus. My prayers are with my family, my loved ones, my land, and my people. Thank you for your time and opportunity to share with you all. Lum lunch, and God bless.
I'm honored to get to share my testimony with you all. My name is Miranda Rochelle Mackick. I'm 22 years old and I'm enrolled in the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. I'm a daughter of the king and an addict in recovery that struggled with meth, heroin, and fentanyl for 7 years. I started drinking and using meth at the age of 15 and dropped out of school due to my drug use. I started using heroin and eventually became an IV user. From that, I got into fentanyl pills and got pregnant with my son still in active addiction. Beginning of 2022, he was born withdrawing from fentanyl and CPS took my son from me. 10 months later, I got pregnant again with my daughter and again, CPS took her from me. They were both placed with their grandparents on their dad's side where they currently reside today. I got to the Hope Center February 28th and have been sober for a little over 3 months now. I came in not knowing who God is or where I stand with him. This treatment center has helped pull me out of the darkest time of my life. I'm currently working on trying to get my kids back and I'm fighting 2 felony charges of possession and possession with intent to distribute. I get to see my kids every weekend on Sunday after church, and I'm so grateful for all the relationships I built with the other girls there, especially the staff. Most of all, I'm grateful for my mom and my auntie who are walking along spiritually with me as well. My other 2 aunties, my older sister, and my kid's dad attend our family night Zooms with us to support our sobriety. I do vocational training 5 days out of the week at Corby Lawn and Landscape, and I have God to help guide me down the right path. I pray every day for him to give me the strength and courage to fight my demons. Here are some statistics on Native American health and drug use. Recent findings from the National Survey on Drug and Health include that 10% of Native Americans have a substance abuse disorder, 4% of Native Americans have an illicit drug use disorder, and nearly 25% of Native Americans did report binge drinking. Native Americans are more likely to report drug abuse in the past month, 28.5% in the past year, more than any other group or ethnicity. It showed that nearly 1 in 5 Native American young adults aged 18 to 25 years has a substance abuse disorder, including 11% with illicit drugs and 10% with alcohol. The survey also indicates that approximately 4 in 10 Native American adolescents aged 12 to 17 years have a lifetime prevalence of illicit drug use. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration reports that 13% of Native Americans need substance abuse treatment, but only 3.5% actually receive any treatment. I graduate this program March 8th of 2024, but if the Hope Center opens here before then, I would like to transfer there to finish my program and afterwards be an intern or a counselor so that I can be the light for people that are struggling with addiction. As one, we can overcome our hurts, hang-ups, habits, trials, and tribulations. I thank you all for your time this afternoon.
So today, the children of these mothers here could be visiting them in incarceration. Today, their children could be visiting them at the funeral home or at the longhouse. Today, their children could be only looking at pictures of them or visiting their grave, but they're alive. And their stories are full of hope. And it's something that our reservation families, our individuals, our mothers and our fathers, and even our older ones struggle with. And they need hope and they need answers. And these ladies, particularly these four right here, have found it in the Hope Center. And I'm thankful to the bottom of my heart for this team and what they offer. I'd like to introduce Pastor Chad Hoffman, who's going to explain just a little bit about the logistics and about what a Hope Center here would look like. This is Pastor Chad, Pastor Life for the Nations, Ronan, Montana.
Good afternoon. Thank you. It's a true honor to be here, and I just want to say thank you to you, ladies. That's the second time I've got to hear some of those testimonies, and it still hits me right there. So, just to see lives transformed and the hope involved in that. The reason I have an opportunity to share today is the Hope Center model. In order to bring a Hope Center to a new area, they partner with the local church. As was shared in the presentation, the local church helps provide volunteers who will be part of mentoring and all kinds of facets with the ladies that are involved. So basically 2 years ago now, shortly, not long after they opened, Tiffany's mother, Denise, who's also with us here as part of our church family here in Ronan. And as we have been looking and just praying over our community, I've found, being here only 2.5 years now, I don't believe there's a family anywhere here that hasn't been touched by the effects of addiction, whether it's within our own families or whether it's a neighbor, a friend, a loved one, someone close to us in our community. We've all seen the effects of that. And that's one of the big things that has been a prayer of ours. You know, Lord, how do we see communities whole and healed, and people walking in freedom, and families restored, and reunification, and all of those things that we long to see. And we pray about those things, and prayers just aren't enough. There comes a point where prayers, when they're mixed with faith always shows itself in action. And when Sister Denise introduced me to the Hope House, and we took that first trip over to Helena and saw what was happening there, I saw something that I felt like was an answer for friends and families that we're connected to and people that we love. So we've been pursuing this process for some time, and really prayerfully considering, what to do next. And what it came down to is, in order to see this ministry happening here, somebody needed to be the sponsoring church family. So we stepped up to that, and we have there's 6 church families here that we are connected to, that we worship and pray together cross-denominationally. We have been now for 2.5 years. That started happening during the time of COVID. We've been getting together just for worship and prayer on Wednesdays cross-denominationally. And within that group of church families, I know that we have a lot of folks that are ready to volunteer and work in mentorship with the ladies and partnership there. So that's why we're here. What we where we're at today and what we need to partner with Hope Centers. Every Hope Center is run by Hope Center Ministries, not run by, for example, our church or any other. They take financial responsibility. As a businessman myself, I'm very impressed with their financial model and how they're self-sustaining in what they do, which is a big thing, to see not only recovery, but to see a model that sustains itself. And we're going to open up to questions here for the team. But what we need to make this happen right now is part of being the sponsoring church family. We raise an initial sum of money to get the ball rolling, and then Hope Center takes over. To get that done here, we're raising about $290,000. Just last night, we received one financial commitment for $80,000. So we are on our way with other funds coming in. We've got about another $200,000 to raise. We do need to find a location here that can house, as it was in the presentation, at a minimum of 34 women, and we are talking about a women's center here. And one other, I think, opportunity, or that just a need that is crucial to the program when it comes to the vocational training, is having partners that can provide some of those jobs where the women can go and work. So those are a couple big needs and things that we need in order to make this happen here. And again, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, for inviting this ministry here, and hopefully what you saw today has touched your heart. And so with that, I'd just like to turn it back over to our chairman. Is if there's any questions that you have for the team here, for the ladies, and thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for your testimonials. It's a hard thing to do, and I appreciate it. So I've had family members that have gone through treatment, and so it's, yes, as you said, pastors touched all of us. My one question that has come up time and time again, and of course we didn't utilize it in my family in recovery programs, but is in when we talk about special things that maybe some of our tribal members would be looking for, would be a combination of bringing in maybe sweat or other things that are focused, that are prayerful, that are more of our traditions. And I didn't know if there was a blend of that or an opportunity for that. I don't know if that's something that could be looked at.
From experience with Hope Center, each location is very unique and incorporates the culture. So we have a men's center in Hawaii, far different than the men's center in Oklahoma. And I believe for here, I would hope, we would love to see the traditions of the culture here incorporated into the home.
Website that there's for the year-long program, it's only a $700 admission fee. So when you talk about the raising $290,000, I mean, that's not an endowment fund to run the operation. How do you raise the money then annually? I guess that's the business planning.
Yes, so it takes about $1 million, and that's conservative to open a Hope Center right now. By the time you look at the cost of the house, we have a model we follow. It has to, square footage wise, we need 2 vans, furnishings. We have it all laid out. And so the church's contribution serves as the down payment on the property, and then getting us started with some of those basics and furnishings. From there, every Hope Center is self-sustaining. So we are 65% funding through the vocational training. So that phase 2, the residents are serving and paying the way through the program. We also do 2 fundraisers a year. So one gala, typically in the fall, and then an all-night event in the spring. And then we've been successful in obtaining some grants here in Montana as well.
To go longer than a year for your program?
So I'd say 4 Hope Centers right now across the world have opened graduate houses and sober living, because what we're finding is it's just a very difficult housing market. And so they all have money saved, they're ready to go, but there just aren't places available. And so yes, for that reason, and just to increase success, it's nice if they can stay with a community of people in recovery. So it's definitely something we would look at here too.
I guess one question, Tiffany, was Mr. Pitts one of your teachers? Oh, okay. Any questions from council? Yeah, Jennifer?
Yeah, I just want to say a comment and thank you to the women who talked about your experiences today. I think it takes so much courage and bravery to get better. And I think all of you are beauty and so much to give back to the world. And I'm glad that you're here. And I wish you the best going forward. Thank you.
Barry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, your testimonies are heartfelt and inspiration to not only you, your family, and your friends and people around. I was thinking, we have a few tribal members involved. They're not tribal preference, but probably a lot of those positions are, but we have a lot of programs that are in need of workers. So make sure you check that out, especially when you're looking for things. And I was also thinking we have kids that are incarcerated, not only through drugs, but other things. And it'd be nice to get a list of the CSKT tribal members that are incarcerated, to at least reach out and let them know, because some of those poor kids just don't have the support. And we have a good mix of talents here. It'd be good to let them know that they care, and maybe, I know there's a lot of people, and I know there's a lot of moving parts. We're in the multiple discussions of trying to address issues for our tribal members and incarceration and stuff, but there's a lot of moving parts to get that done. But in the meantime, keep your heads up, keep moving forward. And I would, but I heard needs for jobs and stuff. There are a lot of jobs around that pay a lot better when I was trying to go to school. So good luck. Thank you.
For the facility, how many staff person are you talking about? How many people from the community are involved with that 34 person?
So we would hire, once we were at 80% funded, we would hire a director, hopefully someone here local, a recovery coordinator. So that was Tiffany's role. She serves over the curriculum, the families, and the volunteers. Director of the business model. And then Lutisha, right now, she can serve 3 centers. So at this point, she would be the admissions coordinator. If we open up a 4th, we'd hire a new role for that. Most centers also have a couple interns, possibly apprentice. And then I think right now, how many volunteers do you have trained? 38 trained volunteers, so.
A question, when you referenced 6 local churches, I think that's what you're referencing, Pastor. Could you name who they are?
Yeah, so if I start from the south in Arley, brand new church, Generations Church, Pastor Vance Homegun, Cornerstone Faith Center in Mission. Then coming up into Ronan, Spirit of God, Lighthouse, and us, Life for the Nations. And then Polson Foursquare. And we have a lot of close relationships. Jeremy Lee, he's a Baptist church, Lake City Baptist, I believe. A lot of other churches that we are connected with. But yeah, the six have been getting together for about 2.5 years now on Wednesdays, just for worship and prayer, which that in itself, cross-denominationally, is a small miracle.
Do you have a timeframe that you're considering for this in your capital campaign here?
Yeah, the need is eminent, as we know. So the barriers right now, obviously, is raising the funds, finding the location. We will be doing a kind of a gala, which there's a couple. Obviously, that's about fundraising from the community, but it's also about awareness and just sharing. And also, I think what happens sometime with the gala is people hear a story and they know a loved one or something happens and are part of that as well. So, at this point we just really started pushing the fundraising and once we do the gala and then it just comes down to raising that initial money. I'd love to see something happen solidly this year, at least be looking at, some of the, Miranda in her testimony mentioned how she would love to, finish out her program, here locally and then even begin to intern. That's the other thing I really like about the Hope Center model is a lot of their positions are being filled by, in the case of the Women's Center, by women who have graduated from the program. And then they begin to give back and bring healing to their community. And that to me is really powerful. So thank you, sir. To answer your question, yeah, as soon as possible, I'd really love this year. I think we definitely want to get our gala scheduled in the next couple months to and invite as many stakeholders in our community as we can and see what the Lord will do as far as some funds coming in.
Any other questions or comments from council? One of it's been said, and this afternoon's been this discussion, all connected, but so many people get incarcerated because of addiction and alcohol and mental illness, and they shouldn't be there. They should be in a treatment program, and there's so many different types of programs out there, and so not everyone fits for everybody. And so it's great to have options, and if one of them incorporates God, then that's good. That's part of the process. So I certainly support, as an individual person who's had children through treatment programs and family members, that every tool in the toolbox needs to be used to provide success for our citizenship in the entire community. So thank you. There's no other questions from council. Jennifer?
Yeah, I just want to say, different things work for different people. And clearly this is something that really works for some people. And so, and when you change one person's life, you change their family's life and their children and potentially their children's children. That's really powerful. So I think all of you are doing some really good work and changing our community in so many profound ways. So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. If you would, if there's no more questions from us, but would you entertain a question from or a statement from one of our people in the crowd? Sonny?
I didn't hear myself. Oh, yeah. Because I have issues, with the procedures that are going along with things and how the addiction has put people like yourselves and myself at one time in my life into our predicaments. But what I'm trying to gather in my mind is information from people like you. If you can recall, before your first time getting high or whatever, stuff like that, what led to that? And why I'm trying to get to that point is to somewhat implement prevention before it happens. Like one of you said that one of your children was born an addict or whatever. But to see if there's a way we can recognize the symptoms and stuff before they actually happen as a prevention, before you get to the point where you're at now, with the future, with the children like yours or whatever, to where, like, like they say, it takes a village to raise a child kind of deal, where everybody watches out for themselves like the tribes used to a long time ago with each other. But it's to be able to gather the information for the recognition of before you took that first step into the addiction world, what brought you to that threshold? And I know with mine, it was kind of like a lifestyle. I'm glad you guys find things in God, but I was a victim of the Catholic Church and the Ursulines and St. Ignatius, so that kind of like puts a big damper on my faith and that kind of stuff. But I'm okay with everybody else doing everything like that. If that's what gets you through your day, I'm happy for you. But I look for other things. But what I'm looking for is a way as a whole community, all nationalities with addictions, to be able to recognize before it gets to that point, to try to put you in the positions you're in, I know some of my positions that, but that's my individual thing. But, it's to gather more information, and I don't know what association Pat has with this, but, to take time, not just for me, but I kind of want everybody else to be able to try to look toward, I guess you want to use the word intervention or whatever, before it happens. It was alcohol at the beginning, but that was a time during like my life when that was the norm, it was like every weekend, and pretty soon like the powwow start having the beer garden and stuff for a while, and the drinking was an acceptable thing back then, and a way of life. So that's how mine was every weekend, even during school and stuff like that was, and some of you probably have done the same, here comes Friday, whatever, let's get together, go do this, whatever. But I'm looking for information how we can some that proceed to go along that way again. But I'm just trying to figure out a way to implement some kind of a community with ourselves. Money always seems to be short, but our time and our experiences could be shared, with the younger kids, and you could, like they have talk groups like that, where you can address
you know, the younger membership and stuff, but it's just, that way. There's like, you know, like with one of you who said that your kid was born addicted, well, that gene will probably be within them their whole life, you know. And it's just trying to find a way to educate them and to make better decisions for themselves and everybody as a whole. Information with Pat, whatever, but that's the kind of information I'm trying to find. I mean, like whatever I'm doing, like doing now, I don't want to get into that, but and testimony to put real life experiences to work. To him, and then I'll get back to him sometime later, because this isn't something you could just think about after I just tell you, and after you've testified and stuff, you could just put down, you know, because you have to go back and think, and you know, then you have to remember why and how did I get to that point. Then you say, oh well, maybe that's not it, maybe, you know, but that's the kind of information I as a person am looking for to try to help with what my goals are. Of our people with Lake County and other stuff like that, because I believe that pensions that do work, it doesn't work for everybody, but as long as people know that there's help for you and there is some hope for you. Are afraid to step forward because they don't want to be ridiculed or anything like that, you know. Tell you you're quitting, you know, and stuff like that, but it's, you know, it's serious. To me, it's serious anyway. And I wish you all well in your future and your families. But I'm just trying to get information, tell my family and other families, your families, everybody's families, not just Indian Nation, just Indian friends, non-member friends, whatever, you know, you have friends as friends all over. This, you know. This is life experiences, there's no substitute.
I'm gonna have to, try to adjourn the meeting here, but I want to, Pat, you'll be our connect for this. And, again, for the Hope Centers, what a great job. And we'll try to evaluate how we can contribute, how we can participate. So I want to thank you all for coming in today, for sure.
We
And
thank you for council's time this afternoon. Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. Thank you for having our members to come up to tell their stories, tell their life stories, and so on and so forth. And I'll be happy to be the liaison to
Lem, Pat.
Lemon.
Thank you all. Have a good day. Jen?
Just one quick thing. Sadie got a hold of me and asked if it was possible to have change of duty next week for 4 employees for their language camp. Approval? No one here. Huh?
They're her employees?
No, it's like Bob Woodcock from maintenance, Roxanne Acevedo from Bison Range, Wendy Council's approval, and Andrea Adams from Food Supply, and Carla Linsbigler from Tribal Health.
Okay, well, we can take a vote on that one.
Mona, you were talking to on the phone.
Okay. I have some conflicts of interest with a couple of people on the council. And I hope that they're not judging Robert by those standards. But my brother, Robert Mitchell, is sitting over in jail. He's had a heart attack. He's had open heart surgery. A month ago, he had his veins cleaned out. And right now, he has an aorta that's coming apart. He was picked up for being disruptive, and he was beat up by tribal cops. They hurt his ribs, his arm,
It's,
covered with bruises,
excuse me, we're
and
gonna,
and he's in pain.
then we would move into executive session. Sadie's request for
I can,
Oh,
I can read the names for Abby. Change of duty for next week for Bob Woodcock from maintenance, Andrea Adams, food sovereignty, Roxy Acevedo from the Bison Range, and Carla Linsbigler, tribal health, for the language camp. Is that 5 days or 4?
so that's the request for change of duty station per their individual supervisor's approval for next week's language camp. Motion by Len to approve that request, second by Jennifer. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all is in favor?
I have one more question.
Sure.
So on July 6th, do you guys want a council meeting? Because your guys' quarterly is July 7th, no council meeting on July 4th, Tuesday. Or do you just want one council meeting on July 7th?
I prefer just to do the quarterly, unless there was something that needed to come up general business that
I
day.
haven't got anything on the agenda
Okay.
request. I'll just make sure to get that out, that it'll
Okay.
just be one for that week.
Yeah.
Thoughts again? Rebel Health?
Oh, well, that's a tough one there. We were talking about maybe having a real in and out kind of meeting, but I don't know.
They are gonna be set up here on August 3rd or something like that. That Wednesday before council. They're gonna be in here for like 6 hours
Oh,
with
okay.
shots and. During quarterly, he's trying to come in next Thursday. Figure out a date.
If we have that information, we could announce it at quarterly at least. And do COVID shots or shingles.
We can get that set up again though, if you want it during quarterly.
Do it in August. I should probably get a shingle shot this year.
I need my follow-up shingle shot.
I believe it's July 3rd because they were trying to get in on June 12th and then they said July or 5th. So
Yeah, I didn't know if we want any presentations for the, yep.
no presentations.
No presentations, okay. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Sorry.
Yes, you gotta push the button though. Yeah, you're gonna be gone next week.